What's up, everybody? Thanks for watching today, baby. All right, guys, I hope you guys are all doing well out there in the wonderful world of Oz. Today's a little bit different of a video. I wanted to talk a little bit about relationships, and I'm not a marriage counselor. I have never been married, so I don't claim to be no relationship guru. But I have paid attention to my life and other people's life and relationships as I've aged over the years. I have a lot of relationship experience. I have a lot of experience with addiction, so I've noticed trends. I've watched others' marriages fall apart over stuff like this. Basically, what I'm trying to say is if you keep attracting toxic people into your life, whether that's friends or husbands and wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it may be, chances are you have some work to do on yourself. Because looking back on my addiction, when I was at the worst of my painkiller addiction, that was when I was attracting the most toxic relationships you could ever imagine. And just to give you a little bit of visual reference, what I'm talking about is taking her car and ramming it into my cars plural, keying my house, damaging my house, kicking me out on the freeway in the middle of California, and then trying to run me over with her car. What else? Trying to, after cheating on me, and we met up to have a conversation about it, she was recording me, and then she was acting really weird. She was like, "Don't touch me," because I was like putting my hand on her wrist. She's like, "Don't touch me." I was like, "What are you doing?" I found out later on she was trying to record me. She said that she was afraid of me, even though I've never laid a hand on a woman, and I never would. I've been strictly brought up against that. Like stuff that could land you in jail, right? Like false DV charges. So that's just to give you like a few ideas of like some of the stuff that I've been through. When I say toxic, that's kind of like, that gives you a picture of what I mean. So thinking back on when I was in like the worst of my addiction, I think I already said this, that's when I was attracting the most toxic women into my life. And from the ages of about 17 to, I would say, 35, for almost 20 years, I was the biggest insecure, needy, clingy, I call it beta male, right? I always had to have a girlfriend. And if I was single for even like 2 minutes, I was freaking out. I had to scramble. I always had to have backup girlfriends. Like, I didn't like to not have a girlfriend that I could cling on to and just be with her every single day. And that is very toxic to live life that way, you guys. And I'll never forget how depressed I was whenever these relationships would end. Because you're so used to being around them that when they end, you feel like your soul is like empty, right? Because you don't know what to do without them by your side. You don't feel complete without them. Thinking back on like everything, all the relationships that I've been through, as I started to work my way out of my addiction issues, my relationships started progressing, and I started setting boundaries for them. It's a thing now. Like if I start dating somebody new, I'll set very strict boundaries from the very start. I tell them my life is a drama-free zone. If you bring drama into my life, I will block you and I will never talk to you again. I mean, I don't even talk to my own brother because he's dramatic. My own brother. So if I'm going to eliminate my own brother from my life, trust me, I'm not going to put up with you. So I let them know from the very get-go that I do not accept drama in my life. So if they're going to bring that to me, then you might as well just kick it down the road, because I'm not dealing with that. I've had so much drama in my life in my past. You know, I didn't know for many years of my life that you could actually eliminate people from your life. You know what I mean? I thought that your family was always going to be there. You're always going to see everybody every Christmas, and your girlfriend, she's always going to be there with you. And I've gone through so many relationships. I've seen family member after family member go their own separate way. Like most of my family don't even talk to each other anymore. It's a very small unit. It's gotten very small over the years. And I believe because addictions come into play and resentments start to build in and people just start getting toxic, so people just go their own way. So the closer to sober that I've gotten, guys, the better every relationship has got. And I've directly been able to pinpoint this with direct accuracy. um, as soon as I got on Suboxone, I found what I'd considered the best relationship in my life with the girl that I moved to Boise with. We had an incredible relationship. I mean, it was definitely by far the best relationship I had ever had at the time, right? There were obviously things that came up in the relationship, and we kind of decided to split up and we went our separate ways. And now she's happy with somebody else and I'm dating somebody else, and we're both good to go. So now where it's at is I'm dating somebody else and I'm getting closer to being like fully sober. And I'm probably in, but I could probably say is probably the best relationship I've ever had. And that just goes through experience. That goes through, I took a good year off before I met the Idaho girl. I just took a full year off from dating, you guys. Like, I knew that my life was so dysfunctional. I said, I have got to find a way to be okay with myself and not be afraid of my own shadow. And that was one of the best things that I could have ever done for myself. And a year before that, you could not have told me that I would be totally fine sitting home on a Saturday night all by myself without a girl by my side. I could not have ever pictured that in my entire life before that. I would make it a point to go out on a date with myself. I would go to the movies every Wednesday and watch a movie by myself. Like, I would go out to dinner by myself. I started to like really enjoy being alone. And some could say that is a side effect of Suboxone, and maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I feel like it's just, at that point, it was me needing to be okay with myself and not being afraid of seeing my own shadow and not hearing another person's voice in the room. So as soon as I took that year off from dating, that's when I finished one of the most dramatic relationships in my life. I stopped my painkiller addiction from getting onto Suboxone. So right then and there, I let her know from the very get-go, look, I had been through some dramatic relationships. Do not bring drama into my life or I'll have no choice but to move on from you. And she respected that from day one. And she never once got into an argument match with me. She never once called me like a bad name or swore at me like that. And there was one or two times that I did that with her because I was so used to getting in fights like that every day that like sometimes that would kind of come out of me. And she would be like, hey, like, we don't talk to each other like that. Like, she would remind me, and that really like helped me kind of reset things. Like, hey, I can actually have a healthy relationship where we can communicate like adults and not have to yell and break up every other weekend. I can have that. Like, I always just thought it was just built into me to be toxic like that all the time. The girlfriend before her, we would break up every weekend. She would have her stuff packed to move out of my house, and then we would make up to break up. We would drink alcohol, have some really crazy makeup stuff with alcohol. It was a very toxic and very addictive sexual behavior that we had. Drinking in the middle of the daytime just to get crazy like that, like crazy lifestyle. So yeah, guys, if you're so needy to have somebody in your life, I really think that is a personality flaw that you need to look deep within and find out why you have that built into you. I believe I was that way because I was raised by a single mother. My father was hardly never around. So my father died when I was at only 21 years old, 22 years old. And he was hard. I'd seen him maybe 2-3 times a month as a kid. So it was mostly just go to grandma's house and hang out with them for a day or two and then go back home. I never really got the fatherly lessons that a young man needs. He needs to learn how to be masculine, and do guy stuff. I was always so emotional as a child and crybaby, tattletale, like, I just feel like if possible, both parents need to be in the picture because I suffered greatly in my opinion, from not having that fatherly figure. Now, I did have a stepdad come into my life, thank God, and he was super strict, which I could be thankful for, because if not, I would have been down a much worse road much earlier on in my life if he didn't come into to our family's life. So on one hand, I'm thankful for him, and then there's other things like he grounded me to my room for a full summer, to my room, because I stole some quarters to go buy candy. So I think that's a bit too much army camp-ish, and I do kind of resent him for doing that to me. And like, I don't want to go off and like nitpick my childhood, but he was just really strict. So I just think I wish that I was raised by my dad, you know, but we don't always get what we need in life. For whatever reason, I was raised by a single mom most of my life, and I've had to overcome some personality deficits. I do believe that, yeah, I don't want to touch too much on, like, I don't want to be too negative with this video, but I just wanted to say, guys, like, if you're feeling needy and clingy and you always have to be on dating apps, you have to have a girl in your life, especially as you're getting older. If you're still doing that crap in your 30s, then man almighty, work on that as soon as you guys can. Try to get to where you're okay with your own shadow. You can hang out by yourself. If you have a girlfriend, because what happens, guys, and what happened to me was, she knew deep down, she knew that I was afraid to be alone. And if they know that you're afraid to be alone, and this goes for you too, ladies, if you're in the reverse situation, if your man knows that you're afraid to be alone, he can treat you as crappy as he wants, and he knows you're not going to go anywhere. He can use you and abuse you and talk all kinds of crap to you, make you feel as low as you can, because he knows you're not going to leave. And that's what happened to me. I put up with all that drama, all that crap, because I was too afraid to be alone for more than 10 seconds at a time. So as soon as I fixed that, I got rid of the drug addiction. I got rid of the toxic people in my life. I started cutting, as soon as I realized, hey, just because he was my best friend in childhood doesn't mean he has to be my best friend for life. Toxic, bye. Don't even answer the phone anymore. Change your number if you have to. Block, my brother's blocked right now. It sucks to say that. It's just too toxic for me, and I've been too stressed out by that kid for too long. I love him to death, but I have to love him from afar. And sometimes you guys might have to love people from afar. If they've stressed you out too much, it's okay to do that and take a break from relationships for a while. Maybe one day in the future you can mend things with somebody if it is a family member you're talking about. But it's pretty much all I had to say for this video, guys. I had work to do on myself. I did the work, I'm doing the work, and the results are showing by me getting better quality relationships. And I'm not just hopping relationship to relationship. I'm taking time to heal in between these relationships, because if you're monkey branching from person to person, you're not letting that wound heal as it needs to heal. They say you need to feel it to heal it, right? And I was always guilty, and I know a lot of you ladies can relate to this. You ladies don't like to be single very long, so I've seen that firsthand. Most women, they'll go from relationship to relationship because they don't want to be single. They're not really built to be single. So yeah, that's just what I've noticed. I used to be the same way for most of my life, and then my last relationship, I was single by myself for 2 years, and it was not a big deal. It's just okay, well, if I meet somebody, then I meet somebody, and I did. And things are much better now because I didn't rush right into another one. So that's basically all I had to say, guys. Fix your addictions, fix your personality flaws. I highly suggest most everybody get a counselor. I feel like almost every human on this earth can benefit from a good counselor. If you're not getting anything out of your counseling sessions, find a new counselor. There's really intelligent people out there that can help you sort through your personality issues, your addiction issues. Find people on YouTube if you need to. So that's pretty much all I have to say, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Good night.